Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Joshua. I'm going to be your presenter today. We're here to talk about setting up payroll to use direct deposit in Church Windows Payroll. It's promptly 12:30. We're going to go ahead and get started. A couple or a few technical things before we get going on our topic today. We're going to be here till 12:50 Eastern Time at the very latest. This will probably take about 20 minutes or so, but wherever we are at 12:20, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up, and I'll certainly be happy to stick around and answer questions if you have them. If you do have questions for me, please type those into the questions portion of the webinar control panel. I'll do my best to keep an eye on those. I'm pretty good about repeating the questions so everyone understands what was being asked, and then I'll see what I can't do to answer that for you. I ask simply that you do keep the questions on topic. There may be another webinar event that's more suited towards a question about another portion or topic in the software. And we may even ask you to, call us in support to answer questions that may be more specific to your particular data. We are recording today's webinar event. The video will be available probably on our website either later today or sometime tomorrow at the very latest. But FYI, we do already have setting up direct deposit, paying by direct deposit that were here from 2 or 3 years ago. Frankly, folks, this process has changed very little, if at all. So the video that we'll have out there, shortly will be on the same exact topic if you need to revisit it. But the ones from, 16 and 17 are on the exact same topic and what should cover the same exact things. The topic is taken from our P102 training workbook. You can find or purchase the training workbooks by going to our website, churchwindows.com, going to the beginning menu up here, and you'll see the option down in the list here. Hopefully everybody can see that, called training workbooks. You can purchase them online, download the PDF file, or we can print them and send them to you. It's your choice. But we're using P102 today, very first 3 pages in there, pages 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and get started here. So basically, setting up the direct deposit feature with your bank is possible in Church Windows. So the first thing that I always like to make clear as we're beginning this topic is nothing gets transmitted or nothing communicates directly between Church Windows Payroll and your bank, okay? There's no online connection between Church Windows Payroll and any financial institutions. Our payroll system creates basically what's called an NACHA compliant file. Basically, it's a file that most, if not all, banks should be able to import into their system and then allows the employees to be paid on the respective pay date, okay? You would send or upload the file to the bank, either emailing it as a file attachment to the bank, uploading it through the bank's website, however they want you to do that. So the very first step, essentially, when setting up the direct deposit is to contact your bank, okay? There are some questions you need to find out. Do they support this? Let them know you own NACHA compliant software and that the software that you own produces a file that can be sent to them. How do you want us to upload or send the file to you? Do you want us to walk it in on a thumb drive? Should we upload it through a secure link at our website? Do I email it to you? Okay, that's question number 1, okay? Well, 1, do you support direct deposit? And 2, if you do, how do you want us to transmit the file to you? Okay? Many financial institutions will simply ask you to update or upload the file through a secure link on their website. A handful won't, but you got to find out from them how that file is updated or uploaded, or you get that file to the financial institution itself. Okay. The other question, and this is an important one, and they'll typically let you know this in advance, is how much lead time in advance of the actual pay date or settlement date does the bank need to have you get the file to them? Some financial institutions, it's 2 or 3 days. Others, it might be 5 or 6, okay? So the lead time isn't important. is an important question. Okay, so determining the lead time on that from the financial institution is very important. You've got to get that file to them by that final date, or else they won't be able to get your employees paid by the requested pay date or settlement date. Okay. If the bank, your bank financial institution uses a different method, you do not need to use the direct deposit function in Church Windows Payroll. Okay. Some banks will basically go, no, we don't support that, but here you can go to this place on our website and you can just key in the net amounts, you know, and with all the employees' net pay amounts, with all of the, you know, the employees' bank information, you can key that in, you can all get that in there, but then there would be no need to transmit the file that Church Windows Payroll produces to your bank to then upload them. But again, this is all information you would need to find out from your bank, okay? Okay, all you would do at that point would be to just calculate a regular payroll, you know, assign a dummy check number, print the check stubs to a plain sheet of paper, and then distribute those to your employees, you know, for their actual pay stubs, okay? So again, there's a lot of information that based on the bank itself determines how this will then be done, or if it's going to be done in Church Windows Payroll, and if not, how, then how will it be recorded and set up in the software, okay? So again, once you've talked with your bank about how folks are paid or what they support, then we can come back into Church Windows Payroll and get that set up to do whatever it is you're needing it to be done in Church Windows Payroll, okay? So the second step then, you know, like I said, you can upload it if they say that. You can email it to them as a file attachment. You can walk it in on a removable format of some time, like a flash drive or an external hard drive, but they have to let you know that. The second thing you have to do is you have to collect the employees' information from the employees, like their routing number for their account, checking or savings, the actual checking or savings account number. You know, you want it to be signed by them to verify that, and that's typically done by going to Payroll and going right down here to the bottom where it says Print EFT Authorization Form, okay? When we click on that, it opens an EFT authorization form that says, you know, here's the employer name, the employer ID number, if applicable, you know, and that says, I hereby authorize, you know, to, you know, call the employer to initiate credit entries to my checking or savings account. And then they have the financial institution with the bank name and address. This is for the employee, city, state, etc., routing number and account number, and then the employee signs it. This is for record-keeping purposes for the church, okay? If there's any question as to whether the employee authorized the church to do this, then you have this on record to verify that they did. Not only that, it does include the actual routing and account number information that you can then input into Church Windows Payroll, okay? So once you have the EFT authorization form completed from your employees, it doesn't have to be everybody. You can pay some folks with checks and pay the others using direct deposit. The system is smart enough to know that, and I'm going to show you where that's set up. So we have to also then have to include the church's account number information, and where we do that is by going to System Administration, System Profile, and right here we click on the tab at the top called EFT ACH Info. So let me get out my highlighter here. So it's right here, this tab right here called EFT ACH Info. And then down here is you would enter the church's or company's identification number. Is it the tax ID? Is it something different? The church's routing and account number, the bank name, organization name, etc. Okay? All of that would be entered here with regards to the church's information, bank information. All right? If there is an issue with the bank, with the file, you can use this thing called EFT ACH overrides. But that we would only recommend you go back to if for some reason the bank has a problem with the file that you send them. And we're going to come back to that here in a little bit. Once you've entered this, the church's bank and accounting information here, account information, you would simply click Apply and OK. Then we would go over here to Data Setup, and we'd go into the employee file, and then go down to the tab at the bottom here called General 2, right down here, General 2. Okay. Click on the General 2 tab. So let me get back to my regular drawing tool here. And then we scroll all the way down to the very bottom. And notice here, we have a checkbox, Use Direct Deposit. Okay. So you have to check that box, okay, in order to be able to enter the routing and account number information. If that box is not checked, you're telling the system this person is not going to be paid by a direct deposit, and therefore it won't make these information fields down here below that available to you. Okay? Let me see if I can find an employee from the menu who doesn't have direct deposit. Yeah, so here we go. Roger Train, no direct deposit, use direct deposit is checked, therefore I can't click to enter a routing and account number, account type, etc. Okay? So that's what triggers that, is the checking of the use direct deposit. Okay? So once you check that, you enter the employee's routing and account number from the EFT authorization form. The EFT detail record individual ID field by default in Church Windows Payroll is set up as not required by your financial institution. Okay? If it's determined that later on there does need to be an EFT detail record, we would come in here and we would change that. Okay? But otherwise we would recommend initially that you do the not required by your financial institution by default until they tell you otherwise. Okay? So once we'd entered that routing and account number, told it, is it a checking or a savings account, then we would simply click Apply and OK, go to the next employee and do the same exact thing. Okay? So then the software has what it needs, at least initially at the outset, to be able to pay these folks electronically. Okay? Calculating your payroll. Now, this is probably the most important part of this. Okay? We don't want there to be any problems when folks and money needs to actually change hands. Okay? So you don't want to go in and use calculate payroll and calculate payroll to be able to pay your employees and have there be a problem when money's actually changing hands. We've had folks who've done that, and that's a real problem. Okay, so we've got this option down here in our payroll menu called Create EFT Pre-Notify File. What this is this is a test run. This is a payroll run where no money's changing hands, but it's for all of your direct deposit employees. So you would definitely want to do this. So basically we choose, let's say, August 22nd of 2019. We click Next. We're going to choose all of our employees. It's only going to include all of our employees that are set up as direct deposit. So notice each one of our screens are numbered. We would just, unless you've got a new employee that you're doing, midstream, we're just going to do it for everybody. We do Next. It then lists our employees automatically that are set up for direct deposit. And notice the net pay amount is 0. This is the purpose. No money is changing hands, okay? All we're wanting to ensure is that the file that we're uploading to the bank, the church's financial bank institution, can import the file with the data, and it can send out all the information to the employee's bank, and it's either going to be good or it's not, okay? Every bank's setup is a little bit different, and so while there are a lot of commonalities, they aren't always constructed the same. So this EFT pre-notify file option simply allows you to determine and eliminate, work out all the kinks and the bugs in the problem, in the process, before you then actually need to pay your employees. So we would leave it as 0, completely fine. Then we would do Finish. It'll say EFT pre-notification file has been created. Okay. So then we would now go into create or copy EFT file, and notice there's an August 22nd in there. So then I can just browse and copy this somewhere, like maybe to my desktop. Okay. And then when I click OK and copy file, here it tells me this file has been successfully copied to, webinar desktop EFT 190822.dat. Okay. Now, when I minimize payroll, back to my desktop up here in the upper left. Let me get out my highlighter again real quick. Right here. There's my DAT file. That's the file then I'm now going to send to my bank and say, here is an EFT pre-notify file. Again, that might be something you want to add to your list of things when you speak with your bank initially that says, hey, our software also has the pre-notification option. We'd like to use that to ensure there are no problems when, in advance of when folks actually need to be paid. So you would then simply send this file to the bank, and then they will import it. They'll send it out on the respective pay date. Again, no money's changing hands, and then they'll get back to you, and they'll say, hey, yeah, the file was great. It works perfectly. All the other, financial institutions for your employees came back with thumbs up, or they're going to come back to you and say, no, there was something wrong with the file, okay? Something was rejected. Either it was rejected by the bank system or it was rejected by an employee's system, bank something, okay? But the point being about it is, if the EFT pre-notification file is in fact rejected, the church's bank has to tell you what's exactly wrong with it, okay? Our payroll doesn't know the bank's system and can't tell you what's wrong. The bank has to tell you that, okay, which is where we're then now coming back to revisiting under system administration, system profile, and the EFT ACH overrides, okay? We've had it be simply that the financial institution says, hey, it's got to be a balanced debit and credit entry in the EFT file, okay? It could be that simple right here under the EFT ACH info, okay? Or if it's not that, then what in the file itself needs to be edited or changed to allow the import of the file and to have your employees be paid, okay? Once those changes have been made, we would simply go back to payroll, create EFT pre-notify file, and we would create another pre-notify file for tomorrow and send it to the bank and have them send it out to the, import it, communicate with the employees' banks, and again, keep doing this process until they come back to you and say, yep, the file's good. All the financial institutions involved are saying everything's good. Then you're ready to pay your employees via direct deposit, okay? So I can't stress the importance of the EFT pre-notify file option enough, folks. It's a very important process. We've actually had churches which didn't use this, or employers. They sent the file to the bank. It was rejected. All of a sudden, you're now scrambling to void the EFT pay and produce checks for your employees so they can get paid on the respective pay date, okay? So the pre-notify file option is, like I said, probably the most important portion of the setup process before your employees are actually paid via direct deposit, okay? So that is our topic for the day today.